Gazing to the Ocean of the Sky. Written by David Silver. Read by no one and nobody. Chapter 23. Angered Sea. Amid a froth of agitated water, a huge beast rose, looming over terrified ponies that scrambled away towards hopeful safety. It gave a terrible screech as it reached with grasping tentacles, far too long for normal ponies to comprehend, and snatched a mare just before she reached the door and pulled her into the air with a fresh roar of defiance. Indigo's ears fell. Oh no. Cherry gaped at the huge monster.
Please tell me it's one of your friends. Friends?
Twilight looked between the two sea ponies.
How? Never mind. Just tell it to let that pony go, if it is.
Indigo waved his hooves in the air.
Bring me closer to him. He's probably scared for me and looking for me. So if you show him I'm safe, he'll calm down. He gets like this when he's nervous.
As the great creature snatched up another pony from the emptying beach, Spike shook his head.
I hate to see it when he's really angry.
He began sprinting in the direction of the beast, but Twilight wasn't moving, and he slipped and fell with the tub held in her magic. She shook her head.
We have to be careful. That huge thing's easily capable of hurting all of us if it wanted to. Cherry, can you talk with it at all?
Cherry shook her head quickly.
All I can say to fishes is, I'm going to eat you, and don't eat me.
She frowned faintly a moment, then pointed a hoof up at Indigo.
I think he's right. We have to get him over to talk to his friend.
That's what I said.
He crossed his forelegs, looking agitated enough to consider flopping over to his friend.
Get this thing over to him right now, before anyone gets hurt, including him.
She suddenly jumped up and bumped into the pool in her moment of freedom from the still largely alien force known as gravity. Colliding with the pool, it tipped off to the side just a little, but it was enough to send Indy sliding, which made it tilt all the more. Cherry came to the ground with a flop, missing her landing as her friend flopped down beside her with an annoyed and mildly pained squawk. Twilight blinked at both of them.
Have you gone mad?
Cherry wasn't listening. She got back upright with a whir of her mechanical legs getting themselves in order and ran for Indigo. Her head lowered. She slipped underneath him and got him onto her back. Fortunately, he grabbed at her with his hooves and clung as she took off running towards the angered sea beast with him. The roaring and thrashing monster had managed to get 4 ponies before the rest fled out of its range, and it was shaking them around like musical instruments. Instead of the sounds of beads rattled, they wailed and shouted with terror as the music of the day. When Cherry charged into range, the beast turned one of its large eyes towards her and her passenger. It quieted for a moment, then burst with anger in a blubbering wail of fury. Indigo waved a single hoof wildly.
I'm all right. This is Cherry. She's a friend.
The monster slowed a moment, its mighty tentacles pausing mid-air, with the ponies held within looking hopeful but terrified.
I promise, I'm all right. Look.
Indigo let go of Cherry and flopped to the hot sand.
See? Look, I came here to explore, not because I'm hurt. I swear. Now, you're a good boy, and thank you for coming for me. Please put those nice dry ponies down.
A querying toot like a horn came from the beast.
No, don't eat them, even the fatter ones. Rule of the waves. They aren't a part of the sea, and they aren't part of your sea especially. Besides, you're a good hunter. I know you'll find better, less screamy lunch.
The beast made a sad toot and began setting the ponies down one by one, patting each on the head just after releasing them. It made a querying whistle and clacked its great beak, eyes settling fully on Indigo.
I'm not coming back. Not right now. Go on, go back home. I'll see you when I come back. I want to explore this place.
Indigo balanced perilously on one hoof, while waving wildly with the other around the city of the dry.
I want to.
The beast gave a final piercing toot and retreated into the water, sinking swiftly beneath the waves and out of sight, as if it had never been there. Spike arrived at a light jog.
What did it say?
Cherry nodded at that.
That's what I want to know. You have such a powerful talent, Indy.
Twilight arrived shortly after Spike.
You'd probably love a friend of mine. She has a talent very similar to yours. but she usually deals with animals that live on the land.
Indigo frowned at Cherry.
As if you don't? You're a master of those, mechanical things.
He flopped down onto his aquatic body, poorly suited to navigating on the sands.
I'd love to meet her, but first, I hope you brought the water with you.
Twilight glanced aside to her thoroughly emptied pool.
One moment, and I'll have this addressed.
She trotted down towards where the waves lapped at the shore. Spike stayed with the sea ponies.
Are you sure that thing was going to calm down when you came over here? Mostly.
Indy smiled.
I can't promise anything 100% with him, but he likes me, and I like him. I never saw him that angry before. He really thought I was hurt or full-napped or something.
Spike shook his head.
Remind me never to upset random sea monsters. Oh, he's no sea monster.
Indy shook his head as he rolled over, trying to find a more comfortable position.
He usually stays out of seas and in oceans. He needs deep, deep water to be happy.
Twilight returned with the pool refilled and set it just beside Indigo.
Sorry, Indigo, Cherry. I should have listened to you both, instead of trying to figure out your own life better than you. Especially in such an emergency situation. I'll try to listen better to you both.
Indigo slipped gracefully into the cool water and shook himself thoroughly in its embrace, working free the gritty sand that had collected on him during his stay.
It's like the dry is trying to cook me.
Cherry suddenly smiled.
I've cooked with a dry before. It's amazing. I'll show you after we get back to Ponyville. Pinky and her friends the Cakes are masters of dry cooking, using the power of the dry to make super tasty things.
Twilight carefully hefted the pool up and began moving towards the train, with Spike taking up his position of helping the pool without prompting.
It is a particularly warm day, but you should be safe in there. Cherry, how are you doing? I know you say you're used to it, but it's much warmer here than Ponyville typically becomes, and you've been very active.
Cherry began to follow after them, even after she considered herself, and that. She was well and whole in large part, but her fins did ache a little and felt chapped inside their sleeves. Chapped was actually a great description of a lot of patches of her body, and she hurried to catch up with them.
I think I'm looking forward to getting back to my room, too,
she said, demurring her desire to claim everything was perfectly all right. Twilight gestured with her horn up at the pool.
Do you want to ride with Indigo and get out of the sun a little while?
Cherry licked her lips thoughtfully.
Maybe after we get on the train. I know how heavy it is with all that water and one of us. You don't need to carry both of us.
Decided, they made their way through the town towards the train station. Indigo peered curiously at everything around himself.
A lot more dry ponies wear clothing, and they all have 4 hooves.
He looked down from his perch at Cherry and her extra hooves.
I hope you can get some extra hooves so I can try dry swimming like all these ponies.
She smiled nervously.
I'll try my best. Promise? But really, I never did this before.
Her head lowered a little.
Please don't be angry if I can't do it.
But you can do it.
Indy leaned a little closer to the edge, the pool wobbling.
I saw you working on those, and I bet you didn't stop just because you reached the dry. You have to trust yourself, and I bet you'll make it happen.
Twilight gave a gentle smile.
I'll make sure you have metal to work with.
She might have been thinking of witnessing how far Cherry's understanding of mechanics had come.
There's a smith in town, and she can make sure your pieces are shaped right if you can tell her what you need. This town?
Cherry glanced left and right.
No, Ponyville.
Twilight blushed a little at her imprecision.
Spike, hold this a moment while I get us tickets.
She trotted off. Spike wobbled dangerously and quickly let the pool come down as gracefully as he could manage, only spilling some of the water to his credit as he got it to the ground in a sort of controlled fall under his insufficient muscle mass.
You all right?
Indy nodded at him quickly.
I feel much better now that this... What is this?
Cherry tapped the inside of the pool.
This is a pool. The dry ponies use it to hold a lot of water all at once. They also have glasses for little bits of water and buckets for medium-sized bits of water.
Indigo blinked with wonder.
Why do dry ponies care about water at all to have so many things to hold it?
Spike shrugged softly.
We don't live in it, but we do need some water to live, and we like it on hot days.
Indigo let out a low, impressed whistle.
Even dry ponies. We are all truly connected by the water, no matter how far away we are.
Cherry tilted her head.
That was the most religious thing I think I've ever heard you say.
What? It is true. We're all part of the same sea, Even these dry ponies. It's kind of humbling to think about.
Twilight returned with the tickets held in her magic.
All right, we can get going to Ponyville. I'm certain they'll be happy to meet you. But before we do that, is every pony related to you aware of this trip? We don't want complications.
Indigo bobbed his head.
Promise. Unlike some ponies, I didn't go running off in the middle of the night.
Hey!